You know how in part 2 I mentioned Dustin's boner for an extra with the Ann Jillian hair? He says her name was Cheri and, well, I found her. I knew I'd be getting a lot of images for this video from the Instagram account SBTB Anniversary and boom, there she was. You can see her being all teachery in the background of the Slater's Sister episode in season 4. Have I not seen all of the Tori episodes? Seriously, if you don't know about SBTV Anniversary by now...
Get the net!
Okay, so where are we? Ah, crap. Dustin begins this section by talking about mall tours. The cast would fly out to various states for promotional events and would be treated like the friggin' Beatles, and security was often very necessary. Here are some stories he tells. In South Carolina, he and a friend apparently bagged some chicks who stole his fake ID. But don't worry, he got it back. He also got super loaded, and the event was a bust. In Miami, someone allegedly tried to pay him in cocaine to make a special appearance. So some of these mall tours, didn't the kids have chaperones? Yes, Dustin's dad frequently accompanied him, but other times it was textbook author and studio teacher Sydney Sharon. Dustin makes it sound like Sydney was easier to duck than Dad. Dustin then relates 2 hit pieces on Mark Paul. In Arizona, the cast was in a limo headed to a function. MPG needed to pee, but the convenience store wouldn't let him, so he whizzed out back. A cop stopped the limo, and Mr. Sharon had to talk the officer down while Mark Paul cried in the back.
Allegedly.
Then Dustin details a softball game where Mark Paul hit a home run, and the ball knocked a man out. The tone of this section is that Mark Paul is an idiot, but Dustin straight up says that the man was holding a birthday party just outside the outfield fence and that Mark Paul ran up to check on the guy. So Dustin is admitting that Mark Paul is a good guy.
Allegedly.
And now we're completely away from the mall framing and Dustin is just riffing. Like, he and Lark met Kross at a Nickelodeon function. Cool? And doing press with Mario sucks because he's a microphone hog. And did you know that Dustin had a stalker? Yeah, apparently it was so bad that he had to go live with the Thesons for a bit.
You know, there was times where he actually stayed with my parents and I.
Some guy was calling the house, threatening to kidnap Dustin, and Mark Diamond caught someone dousing the front porch with gasoline. That's the story behind the scenes of behind the scenes. But it's a story for another time. Trust the dust. There's enough weirdness and violence there for a whole other book. How can I trust the dust when your cool stalker story barely gets a page and your odd Mark Paul baseball story gets 2 pages?
This don't make no sense.
Dustin then devotes a section to his Disneyland exploits. As a kid, Dustin loved Disneyland. And as he got older and famouser, he found out he could have sex there. And he bagged tons of chicks there.
Allegedly.
He explains that when the show would wrap, he'd have several months off, typically during school months. While his older co-stars stayed out late and partied, he'd hit on international chicks at Disneyland. His favorite rides for hooking up? The People Mover, the Haunted Mansion, and Pirates of the Caribbean.
We don't whitewash it either, Morty. I mean, the pirates are really rapey.
In fact, this article here basically confirms that last one. He claims that there were many a Disneyfinger, though he doesn't clarify if he was the giver or receiver. And then he rambles about going back at 21 and picking up some chicks and being super suspect of their motives, but then everything is fine? Like, who chose what stories to flesh out in this thing? Now, I'm not going to go into the details of this next section, as it details how Dustin and director of children's programming Linda Mancuso basically groomed each other and had some kind of subsexual relationship.
Allegedly.
But see, Linda died of cancer 6 years before the book was released, so there's no way of knowing if the things said about this woman doing anything with this child are legit. Also, Dustin's dates are screwy. He says Linda invited him to her house at age 15. He says he couldn't wait to turn 16 so he could drive up like a man in his own car. He says California got in the way of his plans by increasing the driving age, but then lowering it years later. He says this all went down as the 26-episode season wrapped. Well, the only 26 episode season was season 3, which wrapped production in 1991 when Dustin was 14. California didn't update its driver's license age until 1998, when Dustin was already 21. So what the F is he even talking about? Maybe something happened? Maybe he just wished it had? I'm going to save the next section for a later video on the Hawaiian-style movie. So let's talk about The Sniper. This has nothing to do with Saved by the Bell. His neighbors hated him, and he was allergic to cats, but he ended up with a whole litter of them, and he had to scare off a tomcat, so he got on the roof of his house with a BB gun, and the cops came.
Allegedly.
Can we skip this one? Oh, it starts with a tidbit about the Max? Okay. Just to the left of the entrance, both stars and extras would stick gum to a growing wad. Toothpicks and other things would get stuck in there too. Okay. And if you've ever wanted to know the name of the shop just past the door, it's Mario's. That second factoid was not in the book, but hey, we're having fun again. The whole book should be like this. Why were we behind the Max again? Oh yeah, Dustin being a horn dog for extras. Come on! As Dustin tells it, he loved making love to the extras. Of course, he doesn't name any of the extras from the school sets. In fact, in an interview with the Zeffirelli twins, they said everyone loved Dustin because he was like a cute little brother. Oh yeah? Then what do you have to say to this hot action? Just kidding. Every bro knows that the shoulder rub is the desperate child's attempt at any form of physical contact. Dustin does drop one extra's name, however, Jeannie Bassone. Yes, Hollywood from the Glamorous Ladies of Wrestling, who breasted boobily at the start of the first 2 Malibu Sands episodes. Bro was 14. He then notes lusting after future guest star Soleil Moon Frye because of, how did he put it? Her quadruple D yammers. He also hung around the Sister Kate set to try and get exposure to Aaron Reed. At no point does he claim to have made either of them screech. Dustin does go a little soft at the end of this section by talking about an extra named Anne who he believes is the one that got away. It's nice to know that despite all that sexual bravado, Dustin had a heart, that he broke himself due to his sexual bravado. But we're 3/4 through this book, and it has come across less so of a tell-all and more so of a tell-some. Like this Anne thing. We can't get her full name? Dustin says he ruined a second chance with Anne because he fooled around with another extra, whom he gives the fake name Laura. Why can't we get full, fleshed-out stories? The whole book has come across like that Bobby Moynihan character.
So, you hear about this situation in North Africa, though?
My theory is the extras he merely refers to were from the new class when he was older, and not the original series. Seriously, the only things he seems to stick to are that Mario was a conceited a-hole.
Allegedly.
Mark Paul was entitled and undeserving.
Allegedly.
And that Tiffany was a straight-up slut.
Allegedly.
No, and that he was just the best at everything.
Allegedly.
Well, we've got one part to go. Please be an improvement.